One of the things that we have found out in the crisis is that a lot of the systems of these countries, the economic system, the service delivery system, the access to local communities, all of these were exposed to be extremely fragile. Take, for example, Sierra Leone had a growth rate which was around 11% consistently until the crisis came. And when the crisis hit, in less than 6 months, the country's economy dropped from 11% to 7%, and even further down. The same with Guinea Conakry. The growth rate was 4% before the crisis, and that dropped to zero. Liberia had the growth rate of 7%, that dropped to -1. So it tells us that when these countries, because of the weakness, the fragility of their systems, when they experience shock, there is a significant reversal of their economies. And also, beyond just the economic, at the macro level, local communities, women's groups, small and medium-sized enterprises of women's group dropped significantly. Basic livelihoods also got disrupted. So we've learned a lot of lessons from this, that if we are not able to put in place the buffers, the safeguards for vulnerable communities, and the safeguards for the larger economies of these countries, every time there is a little crisis, they will experience a reversal of their economies. And that would not serve us well in this new dispensation of sustainable development, which is Agenda 2030. If we have to achieve this, then we must make sure that the gains made in these economies are sustained. And that's what this project is largely about. It is saying that even though at the macro level we experience this growth decline because of the shock, but if you don't help to create a buffer for the most vulnerable in these countries, then we are not going to achieve our aspiration of leaving no one behind. And that is the primary reason of this project. It has 6 outputs, but the last 3 or 4 of the outputs focus a lot on those communities. We saw in the Ebola crisis, the reason why the crisis exploded, unlike other countries where we experienced Ebola, is service delivery systems did not exist, or even if they did exist, they were not functional in many of these communities. So people had to run out to find medical services, so they had to take the disease away from its origin. If we have service delivery systems, if we have robust basic service systems in these remote communities, then we already have dealt with a major crisis of leaving no one behind. One thing that we have we've learned, but we have not really acted upon, is the reality that Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone are essentially one country, the same ethnic communities across the borders, the same porosity of borders. These people don't really see these national borders to be a constraint to their mobility across the chiefdoms, across the different ethnic geographies that they have. So that reality is there. And it would be foolhardy for us to continue to operate on a state level. The virus started from Guinea along the borders. In less than 3 months, it was in Liberia. In less than 6 months, it was in Sierra Leone. The violent conflict in Liberia in 1989 started in Liberia along the border with Cote d'Ivoire and Guinea. In less than 1 year, it was in Sierra Leone. So we have that reality. These are inherently interconnected communities. Long history that crosses across borders. We have to treat it that way. The second reason is that many of the service delivery systems in these countries are far away from the frontiers. The frontiers are not given real attention. So if you are able to put in place robust service delivery system, justice, health, education, sanitation, across the border, you will be serving 3 countries one time. So you'll be leveraging limited resources to achieve gains across 3 countries. So that's important. And then you will already safeguard the risk of people moving away to find access to services, or people not having access to services. That's the first place to begin the decentralization process of these countries. In fact, you can't put a major project like this, which is just a pilot project, without having mechanism to monitor progress. And one thing that we want to emphasize is that the monitoring of the results of this project has got to be done by the communities themselves. The leadership of the communities, they need to feed back to us if this project is impacting their lives or not. So there will be innovative ways of doing monitoring. For example, using their cell phones, calling communities leaders, asking them what is the project doing for them, calling local government leaders and seeing whether there is access and that this project is enhancing their work there. So there will have to be continuous monitoring of progress, so that this project's success already gives us a good foundation for introducing the new 2030 agenda of sustainable development.